Are you ready for a big explosion?
I have already had a big explosion watching this movie.
Hello and welcome to Predictocast, the podcast where we predict the plot of a movie we know nothing about. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hey, Josh. Hey, all you tactical neutralization team members out there.
Perfect. On this episode, we are going to talk all about T.N.T. from 1997. If you didn't hear our mini episode last week, our first back in season 5, where we lay out the new format for the show going forward in this season, head over there, listen to that mini episode. It'll contain all of our predictions about T.N.T., about where we thought it was going to go. Not quite as explosive of a movie as I was expecting for our first film back. You know, I said we wanted to come back with a bang, and while this one does have some explosions, it's not quite as exciting as I was hoping for.
There is a giant explosion near the end of the movie that is clearly most of their budget.
Fair. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, hey, you got a movie here by Robert Radler. He's got Rad in his name. He's done such great things as an episode of Silk Stockings, an episode of Police Academy, the series, an episode of 18 Wheels of Justice.
Whoa, what is that? I don't know what that is. And I'm interested in that.
17 episodes of Power Rangers Zeo, which makes sense.
Yeah. I'm very interested in 18 Wheels of Justice, though. That sounds very interesting to me.
Let's see what 18 Wheels of Justice has. A guy with his arms folded on the little poster here for the show.
Is this a TV show about a guy who is like riding around in an 18-wheeler trying to take down people?
Let's see what the IMDb summary for is.
We have to watch it. It's got Billy D. Williams in it and G. Gordon Liddy for some reason.
Michael Cates is an agent for the Justice Department. His assignment was to infiltrate the organization of Jacob Cadler, a deadly and vicious crime boss. He saw Cadler kill his mistress. Cadler was brought to trial and convicted.
Did Cadler kill his mistress or Michael Cates' mistress?
He saw him kill a mistress.
Unclear which mistress.
Cadler was not going to let Cates off the hook. Why are they both with CA? So he took a contract out on Cates. The hitman, Mrs. Cates, was able to get his wife and daughter. What? Cates' boss, Burton Hardesty, decides the best way for Michael to avoid Calder's hitman is for him to pose as Chase Bowman, a trucker, and drive all around. Cates, however, cannot help but get involved in the lives of the people whom he meets and seems to run into people who have dealt with or know Calder. So as a result of this, Calder gets a line on him and either sends someone to take him out or offers a bounty he placed on Cates to the people who informed him.
Wow, I've never wanted to watch a show more. This sounds incredibly exciting.
It sounds so contrived. And so, like, what if, like, Highway to Heaven was just driven down by a guy with 18 Wheels of Justice?
It's the Incredible Hulk, but it's in an 18-wheeler.
Why do they keep giving them C names? Chance Bowman. You can pick any name you want. Oh, I'm going to be Chance Bowman.
Why is G. Gordon Liddy in it? He's the bad guy, but why?
He's the bad guy.
Why is that guy, of all people, this crooked monster who is in, like, he was one of the guys involved in the whole, like, Nixon scandal, right? Like, he's an awful human being, and yet he's on a TV show.
Yes, and so is Lucky Vanis.
I really hope that they only did 18 episodes.
There are 45.
Fuck.
But Billy D. Williams is only in 26 of them, so he's only in one season.
Wow. All right, I'm looking
45 episodes.
It does not appear to be available to purchase anywhere.
Weird.
Wow. All right. Well, that kind of shows how interesting T.N.T. is, that we just spent a couple minutes talking about some random television show I'd never heard of before about a guy pretending to be another guy driving around an 18-wheeler and saving people.
Like, this is one of those movies that even IMDb seems disinterested in like archiving, because it has some of the characters' names, but not all of them. And it doesn't even matter if they're you know, important to the plot. Like, Randy Travis's daughter's name is nowhere on any of the billing.
Which I don't even know what I don't remember what her character's name was.
Let me scroll through my notes. I eventually figured it out really late into it. Right after, like, I was trying to figure out who she was and why she was into our main character.
Oh, yeah.
And was she supposed to be super young, or was she supposed to be the daughter of Randy Travis or the girlfriend of Randy Travis? He's a member of Dads Against Daughters Dating.
Did you make that up, or is that a real thing?
Oh, you should look that up while I'm looking up her name. All I have the names written down is Boobra.
Oh, Boobra. Poor Boobra. I mean,
Boobra doesn't deserve it.
She did get a man eventually who sort of looks like our main character, but dumpier.
Kind of everyone looks like our main character, but dumpier. At the start of this movie, it's this, you know, dark.
Oh man, Dad is real. That's very sad.
That is very sad, isn't it? But like the start of the movie where we have the tactical neutralization team at work, and it's kind of lit poorly. They're all just dudes with dark hair.
Yeah, it's really difficult to sort of like grasp who I'm looking at some of the times, especially when we get to the end, when we have our bad guy versus our good guy, and they're both just beefy guys with dark hair. And you can kind of, I mean, you're sort of supposed to know who they are, but they, from afar, they kind of look similar. So
yeah, so the bad guy's name is Miles, right?
Yes.
Okay. And our good guy's name is Alex/Mark?
Yes, I think so.
I mean, he's not doing anything else to hide himself.
Yes, it's Mark. It's Alex and Mark. Yes.
Why did he pick? What? Like, if he had called himself Alex, would they have found him quicker?
I don't know, because let's get into it. So we're introduced with some on-screen text that tells us about these secret elite teams.
Yes, many who served in the Gulf War are now involved in covert operations around the world. This is the story of one such group known as the Tactical Neutralization Team.
Yes.
I had to sit there and figure out which fucking Gulf War were they talking about.
Well, this is 97, so clearly the first one.
First one. I mean, there must be so many T.N.Ts now after so many wars.
You would think so. I mean, this is what this team is basically the equivalent of like Blackwater or whatever those mercenary teams, like whatever other mercenary teams are out there. I don't think they're called Blackwater anymore because that had a negative connotation. So they just rebranded themselves and kept doing the same shit.
Of course they're going to. What else are they going to do? Get out of the business of evil?
I mean, I find it funny, though, that they were like, yeah, we're going to have this elite team that's going to go in and do like wet work, and they're going to do things sort of outside of the government jurisdiction. We're going to give them the name that a 10-year-old would give a tactical team. We're going to call them T.N.T.
To the point where, like, so basically it's just like it's not even a huge group. It's like 7 guys at most.
Yeah, it's
right?
not many at all. Yeah.
It's not many at all. And like, for some reason, our main character thinks that he's part of a larger organization, but he's just basically Eric Roberts' like personal army for buying shit.
Yeah, it's like he thinks that they've been contracted by the actual military or the government to go in and do this stuff. But it seems clear that, like, no, they're just a merc team who's doing whatever they want. And he's fooling this guy. That makes me think that, like, Alex is a real idiot.
There's a lot of things that make me think Alex is a real idiot. But, like, to the point of, like, where they're supposed to be like, oh, all these people who served in Gulf War now have no idea what to do, so they've fallen into these things. And this guy thinks he's now working with the government as a contractor because the government itself has no more wars. because history ended in 99.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, wait, just stay in the military. There'll be another war. You didn't have to do this.
Yeah, no,
okay.
Of course. I mean, although this was 97, so we weren't like in serious skirmishes at this point, right? Like there was still shit happening. I know Clinton was still bombing things, but it wasn't as bad as it became a few years later, obviously.
Right. We haven't fully gone back into a war that we care about. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the world that we don't care about.
Yes.
As a general population. But like he could have went to Cyprus. He could have done a couple other things. Speaking of what he is, our main character, Alex / Laurent / whatever the hell he's called. I was trying to figure out for the longest time, is he supposed to be French?
Yes, I think so.
Because and he is, but like he's part of the American military. He's
true. Okay, good point.
No one is talking about it. Like he appeared to be trying to kind of muffle his accent a bit. He sounds completely ridiculous. And I'm like, okay, so
there's
like
some very Tommy Wiseau-esque line deliveries in this.
Movie. It's pretty impressive. But I was thinking, like, is this a fucking Street Fighter the movie thing where Colonel Guile is French for Brussels for no reason?
I got a little JCVD vibes off of him a little bit.
When the workout for sure. But
he's so intense.
But like, and then late in the movie, and no one's talked about it. He's got his buddy, the good old small town American sheriff. He's just a guy just in town, just another one of the good old boys. And then someone calls him French finally. I'm like, oh, so he is supposed to be French. They do it in a way to call him homosexual because it's 1997.
Is that during the bar brawl?
The bar brawl. When a bunch of guys for no reason decide to pick on the most ripped, dangerous looking guy in town.
Yeah, seriously.
There's like 40 people in your small town, and the guy who looks the most dangerous is the one they want to pick a fight with.
Yeah, these like
whose best friend is the sheriff.
These three random drunk dumpy guys are like, yeah, let's pick on this super ripped dude who teaches workout classes and like could probably rip us in half if he wanted to. And he does. And he does easily. That's the end of it. But like until that moment, I'm like, is he supposed to be French, or are we supposed to assume he's an American boy? It's like when Arnold shows up in movies, you just don't question where he's from. He'll always have his accent, but then he'll have a hilariously American name that he would never have. Yeah, John Matrix. So they're on a plane heading over to some unnamed region. We don't really know exactly where. Universal Studios back lot. We're seeing lots of news footage of the first Gulf War, which seemed to transition into like PTSD flashbacks for Alex at some point. So like I was trying to figure out during this part, I have done the prediction episode, said that, hey, maybe he's someone who's been broken by the war and now he's out of control. And our hero, whoever it's going to be, Randy Travis or Eric Roberts, I suppose that doesn't make any sense, are trying to stop this universal soldier from going crazy on the population. And then this movie starts and he's having all these flashbacks and I can't tell anyone apart. I can't tell if he's the guy who wants to go rogue in this mission or what's going on, or if he's, and I'm like, it's very heavily done. It's a heavy hand right now, even though it's confusing. It is completely dropped. Yeah. They don't really continue to focus on that. Although we do get a little bit later, but we'll get to that when that happens. In general, when he gets to the second part of the movie, he's just super happy. Yeah, he seems pretty well adjusted at that point, which is great. I mean, he got over blowing up a woman and her child with a rocket launcher pretty easily. The rocket launcher. Yeah. The rocket launcher. So they're on the plane. They're prepping their weapons. There's a lot of, it's very similar to Predator when they're on the helicopter prepping everything for their mission. They're all synchronizing their watches at 1500. Their leader is this guy, Miles, who you already mentioned. They have some line that they say as a group, it's not work, it's justice. for some reason on IMDb, his name is not listed, even though they say it multiple times. But Miles is played by Cyril O'Reilly, which Skinner and I know because he plays a shapeshifter in the also very random 90s TV show Nightman, where he transforms into former President Donald Trump.
In one of the worst scenes in television history. And they like we mentioned the show before, and I mean it seems like someday a show we're going to cover because we're the only ones to ever talk about it, but like it was clear they didn't know who they were going to cast until the last second. Mm-hmm. So he is completely done on a green screen and looks fucking awful. He is the worst actor in the world, much like he's one of the worst humans in the world. And they clearly don't know who they have because they just keep calling him "You're that guy."
Cyril O'Reilly seems, I've seen him in I think one other thing, but he brings a lot of like knockoff Christian Slater energy to this performance.
He really does. And like when they would do that like it's not whatever, it's justice. Mm-hmm. I'm like, from what I can tell, everyone except for Alex is in on it.
Yeah, that's the weird thing is like the rest of the team are they seem to know they're totally fine with what they're doing.
Yeah, like there's no reveal to them that like they're actually. I mean, there's one other guy who gets along with them, but even he knows what's about. Just like it's somehow like they've somehow tricked a star player onto their team.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. We're the New York Yankees. Don't worry. I know our uniforms are different and we're not playing baseball or doing anything you think the New York Yankees would do, but we are. It's just really weird. And I really just wish if they were to go full fucking Predator at the start, that someone had mentioned that something would make them into a sexual Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah. It's weird because like he seems surprised by this. Like he doesn't seem like he knows that they are potentially going to kill bad guys, and he doesn't seem to be super upset about that part. Like he seems totally okay with killing bad guys. I think it's just he doesn't want unnecessary collateral damage. But then he's surprised later when something very bad happens and nobody else seems to really care.
Like they don't care at all. And they're all from the Gulf War. So
yeah. But I mean, maybe the movie is trying to say something like, because ultimately it does come down on the right side, which is that these like mercenary groups are not great, that the military can kind of fuck you up. And I mean, it doesn't have a lot on its mind, but it has some things, and that like these kind of mercenary guys don't, they need to be, held responsible for their crimes. But it just seems weird that like nobody else has a problem. They're totally fine with it. And when this awful thing is revealed, they're just like, it's just part of the job, man.
Yeah, we could have had at least his buddy be like, yeah, man, that sucked. Let's both quit. But,
I mean, his buddy does try, but doesn't get very far at the end there.
Man, when all of his collateral damage starts happening near the end of the movie, it all happens really fast, and a lot of it off camera.
So they jump out of this airplane. They do some skydiving. This actually looks pretty good because it's real people skydiving, which I give them credit for that. Like there's no weird awkward close-ups of the characters like on a green screen or like against a fake backdrop or anything like that.
They could have done really bad stock footage because they are showing off a lot of stock footage.
Oh man, there's so much stock footage of the Gulf, and I was wondering when that started, I was like, is this just going to be like weird stock footage explosions and shit? But no, they actually do explosions in the movie, which is good. And they land. They're kind of stalking through the woods at night. It looks like a park. There's like a little pond there, and like it looks very serene for this like Middle East mission that they're on. There's an alligator crocodile swimming by that never comes to anything. And they get to this campsite, and there's an American hostage there. He has an American flag over his head. He's tied to some pole, and they're trying to. Their mission is to go in and kidnap this guy who is in a tent, who's the leader of this group. And so they go in, and they take out some other guys along the way. They go in, they find the guy. He's snoring, And
It's very funny.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, this is this movie's idea of a joke because the guy's going. I mean, he might as well be.
It's it's probably shot so poorly, but like there is when they're walking in, because it's all in kind of like night vision shit. There's a bunch of barrels around it, and I thought to myself, "My man, this was fucking Wolfenstein. Just shoot the fucking barrels; they'll explode, and you can just get everybody at once with an area of effect attack." And I kind of wrote that down as a joke. They do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. So they're about to get this guy. Our hero Alex is about to grab him. And he puts a knife to his throat, and I was like, oh, is he just about to cut this guy open? But no, like apparently they're going to kidnap him and take him back to the U.S., and Miles comes in and goes, change of plans, and then just shoots the guy and
in his
kills
PJs.
him. Yeah. And
I couldn't tell if it was which one of the two was doing what.
Okay.
Whether he was going rogue because he didn't think they were doing enough justice, or the other guy was going against justice by shooting him. I was completely lost.
It's very confusing because there's a weird jump cut where he shoots the guy, and then suddenly the guy is up running at them with a knife. And then I think that Alex is the one who delivers the killing blow. Like he shoots him.
It is done in slow-mo, which random things in this movie are for no reason. And it takes about 30 seconds of him being slow-mo shot. Like literally like boom, boom. And he's like, his shoulder goes back. Then his other shoulder goes back. Then his hip goes back. And then hey Macarena. And he's like, it goes on for fucking ever.
And so like Alex is mad because he thought they were supposed to be kidnapping this guy. So he's like, well, I'm not leaving here without someone slung over my shoulder. So I'm rescuing this American guy. So he proceeds to do that. And
he's got a quest he's got to fulfill for his video games.
Yeah. It's like rescue person. Or it's a sub quest because he lost the first one. So he's going to try to make up some of those points by rescuing this guy.
He's only going to get 2 stars in this mission instead of 3, but he's got to at least get something out of it once it's get some good loot.
And so there's a bunch of guys that start running for them and like shooting at them. And as you alluded to, we get exactly what you expected. We get a SWAT team stunt show, basically, like all these barrels exploding, guys catching on fire, flying
people
through the
jumping.
air.
Yep, a lot of jumping. There's this great moment after that where they're running towards the helicopter. And we see Alex and his buddy, and he has the thing, and has the guy over his shoulder, and we have this constant back and forth of, where is he? He's gonna make it. Where is he? We're taking off without him. And they show him slow-mo running through the water, and I thought, okay, this is the last part of his run towards the helicopter. No, it's not. It's just part of it. They just made the middle of it slow-mo for no reason.
Yeah, he's got this guy. He doesn't want to leave him. Val is his friend, and he goes ahead and try to stop the chopper. Miles wants to leave, and Val gets there in enough time to put a gun to the pilot's head and basically say, if you don't wait, I'm going to kill the pilot and we're all dead. So they wait for him while he has a machete fight with a bunch of guys out in the woods.
The machete fight's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I will give it that. The action in this movie is not terrible. It's not great though. Like there's nothing that like occasionally we'll do these kinds of movies and there will be something that I'm like kind of blown away by, or like one little thing where I'm like, oh, that's pretty awesome. And nothing really does it. I think maybe the bar fight is the closest thing to like fun action in this. The rest is all just kind of pretty basic, I think.
I think like 94, 95 was the flip over where like you could have a low budget action movie with like somebody who's the center pin, like a Don the Dragon Wilson, or in this case, this guy whose name I can't pronounce.
Olivier Gruner, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. He's French and he's in a bunch of these. But like before you could have it and you'd have a few fun sets. It didn't look that much different than anything else you would get on VHS.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't shot in parks. It wasn't shot in someone's backyard. It wasn't shot like in these sets that look so fucking fake, where they look sanitized. And like there's just something where this movie, because it is done so cheaply, not like cheap like today's digital movies, but like cheap in a way that like you can tell they spent the money on 2 explosions and this star, and everything else is like, well, we didn't even think about what the fuck else we're gonna do. We just borrowed some sets from 18 Wheels of Justice, and fucking it hurts how fun it is.
There is like 18 Wheels of Justice at the end of this movie.
There is, but like if this guy was doing this stuff in more crowded areas or a few more different places, or like you peppered it in 5 action sequences instead of 3, it would do so much. But so much of it is just him not doing fucking anything.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. I think that's what my biggest issue was with this, is it felt like the movie's only like 93 minutes long, which is all you want these movies to be. But it felt like they got to, because you know that when he defects from the team, as we'll get to in a second, like, you know that the team's going to come back and try to take him out at the end. But like, it feels like that happens too quickly almost like.
Here's where it bothered me. So like, because we love to, and we haven't even got to this part of the movie yet, but we love to do a rewrite of these movies. It sets it up where he goes and starts his own life away from this, and they're going to go get him because he can't leave the TNT. You can't leave TBS, you can't leave TNT, you can't leave CNN, you can't leave any of the Turner Media properties.
Spike TV, forget about it.
Spike TV, Paramount Network. But you think, because they have a whole team, that you could have a thing where they come to town. This small, you set up a set, you set up a nice thing, you set up a couple locations where you can tell things are going to go down, and they come after him and he takes them out one by one. It almost like a very small scale Kill Bill, a Kill Alex. Instead, it happens all at once in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. It just feels like it goes from all of the stuff at the beginning, and then he's done, and now he has his happy life, and then there's a fight in the bar, and then the bad guys show up again at the end, and it's like, oh, that just feels like it happens too quickly. It happens too quickly
because they spend too much time just establishing how happy he is, and they give us a little bit for the ladies.
I think we need to get to like the movie
needs
Eric
to Roberts.
Well, the movie needs to get to him being in that town faster to make it feel like a build up to the end when all these guys show back up. But anyway, we'll get to that. So they get out, they get on the chopper, they make it there, they get back to the States. Alex goes to their sort of the leader, or the guy who runs their team. He drives up to this big mansion in a red Hummer. And Alex is in really good shape. Like he's a extremely ripped dude, very good shape, but he's wearing a suit that feels way too big.
I mean, it did until Eric Roberts walks down those stairs.
That's true. So we have Eric Roberts, our first appearance here. And I think maybe it was you in the mini episode who called that they maybe had him for a day, because it certainly feels like that.
They could have shot every scene he has in an afternoon and an evening.
Oh, yes, for sure. Like literally he's in this set, this house set, the entire time we see him. He has maybe 3 to 4 scenes, I think, total.
He has 3 to 4 different ill-fitting outfits. The denim is pretty great, but he comes down this spiral staircase in his house, and is this the most unkempt we've seen him?
I think so. Yeah, he's got a beard, he's got bangs. I mean, a lot of people were there during quarantine, Mr. Roberts, so we totally understand, but yeah, he looks pretty unkempt. He's got glasses. It's very unlike the Eric Roberts that we're used to seeing.
Because like even just a few years earlier, he has the ponytail and the open shirt, and he's got his ripped chest, and now he clearly does not care about this movie. And why would he? He's there for a day, right?
Yeah. Well, this guy, the guy who directed this, Radler, he also directed Best of the Best with Eric Roberts 1 and 2. So he was a good friend of Mr. Roberts. So I
think a lot of people in Hollywood are good friends with Mr. Roberts and have done 1 to 2 movies with him.
That's also very true.
But his suit is just so baggy, and his beard is so just grown in the last 5 weeks. His hair is all over his face, all over his glasses. He's got these giant glasses. Like, he's supposed to be this power broker, and he's wearing a fucking Canadian tuxedo at times.
So yeah, he goes to talk to him, and basically this guy is Russo, and he sort of talks to Alex.
Why is his name Russo and the French guy's name is Alex?
I don't know, but he does talk to him, and he's like, look, I don't want you, because Alex, I guess, has already sort of put out there that he is thinking about quitting the team. Russo's like, I don't want you to quit. You and Miles are my best men. I want you guys to get along because, you're sort of what makes the team the team. And if you stick with it, you'll have your own T.N.T. team very soon. It's like it's a fucking franchise or something.
I like the idea that he's like the best and he's what makes the team, and yet literally everyone on the team is on Miles' side except for one guy. Like no one gives a shit about him. Because he has no charisma. Like that is also one of the major problems of this movie.
Yeah, they have no problem. The rest of the team has no problem later when they're getting on a plane to go kill their former teammates.
They're in fact very excited about it.
Yeah, all except one guy, and he pays the ultimate price.
And literally all of them do. They are all living their last day of their life.
Yeah. Alex is not really totally convinced, though. He decides he's not really sure, but he's going to think it over. And as he leaves, Russo and Miles have a conversation. They clearly have an agreement. They're both on the same side, and they don't want to let Alex out of their sight because they're afraid of what he might do if he's left alone. So they have to keep him close because they need to keep eyes on him at all times. So it's time for their second mission. They're going after some cocaine dealer, and they're going to take out his entire convoy. And they make a very specific point to say this convoy is just going to be this guy and all of his bodyguards. So it's all open season. There's no innocents there. His wife and kid are going to be back at their compound. We're not going to potentially hurt anyone. This is a go. We're good to kill everybody.
And Russo has been talking to the guy in the convoy, trying to get a deal on the cocaine, just in case we didn't realize Russo was a bad guy.
Yeah, while they're all set up waiting for the convoy to come through, Alex starts talking aloud to Val, saying, I wonder if we're actually working for the government or if we're just doing Russo and Miles' dirty work. And the movie has to confirm it by having Russo get on the phone and going, hey, I was supposed to get some shipments of this cocaine. Where is it?
I mean, otherwise I would never believe that Eric Roberts' Russo does cocaine.
And the guy in the car, he's like, I work with who I want when I want, and I don't want to hear any of your shit. And he hangs up on him. And Eric Roberts has the nice line, they all think they're invincible, and then they die. Talking to himself.
Not to himself, but it's still exactly the same line he used in the Coca-Cola Kid. Every time he's one of these characters, I think about his absolutely bonkers characters in Coca-Cola Kid and how this is the same fucking guy.
Yeah, man. Go watch that movie if you haven't. It's something.
It's something.
Or just listen to our episode on it. Either way, it's fine. So they open fire on the convoy. They blow up a bomb. There's some good practical explosions here. Cars flipping around, catching on fire. Pretty good stuff. And they see Carlos getting out of the vehicle, and Alex is ready to shoot, and he hesitates and suddenly sees the man's wife and kid there as well, and
with
fires
a teddy bear.
with a teddy bear. Yes, teddy bear is very important. Fires his rocket launcher before he realizes what he's done, and they blow up.
Please God in slow motion. So it's like, please God, no. And then like we see a picture of the wife and kid with the teddy bear, and then a picture of the car. They are clearly not in the same shot at all.
No, they blow up several times though. We see it a couple different ways.
We see the explosion and then a shot of them, and they keep overlapping them, so like it looks like it is. They are all times, every shot of the kid and wife behind them is a fully intact car at all times.
Oh yeah. But they keep cutting back and forth between it to try to make it feel like we're seeing this like his cracking sanity as he's realized he's blown up this woman and her child.
I mean, I do give the movie credit for having the thing that breaks him being shooting a rocket launcher at a child.
yeah,
like directly at her.
That's pretty important. Like, it has to be something this extreme to make sure that we understand why this guy's breaking. Like all the other horrible potential war crimes that he might have committed as a Gulf War soldier or working with the T.N.T., those weren't that bad. It's this one. This is the worst one.
So I expected after this, because it's such a gigantic tragedy to put upon this guy. The next thing we'd see him, like if he did get away, because like it's clearly set up that he's going to try to leave T.N.T., which all happens off camera. That he would be like living in the woods by himself. He's not that at all. He has a big shaggy dog. He has a new love. He's ready to fuck her in the shower. Like he is. They come back to him loving life, which is like bizarre.
Yeah, after the car explosion, like he confronts Miles really quickly, but then the team stops him from doing anything. He pulls a gun on him and they stop him. And then the next scene is just him recorded on a tape recorder saying, oh, I was part of the T.N.T. and we did bad things and all this other stuff was really awful. And then Russo's mad and he's like, you need to find him. And then we cut to a year later in Colorado and he's just like living this amazing life. He's out on a canoe in the rain and like everything's just going great for him.
He's got a nice new girlfriend. She's like, I need to shower. He's like, we should go in the shower together. Zoodalore. And I love that, like that the evidence he has over the T.N.T. is literally a little tiny answering machine cassette with him just recorded saying shit.
Yeah,
like not information on a data disk or zip drive.
He's like, I've recorded other tapes and they'll go to newspapers if you come after me.
Like he has a sense of justice, but only if like they fucking do something. Otherwise, he's fine with them continue.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like this was such a bad thing. He just wants to live his life. Like he's fine with them continuing to kill people because if he's not there as sort of the conscience of the team, like they're just going to get worse. So the fact that he's fine with them continuing kind of says a lot about Mark/Alex or Alex/Mark.
There's such a large, from this point on, he's now in this small Colorado town with the sheriff, Randy Travis, who is the sheriff from a completely different state because he's just Sheriff Randy Jim. Travis. Sheriff Jim, he's going to check out your vehicles. He comes off like the second Randy Travis is on screen, he's so much more charming and naturalistic than Alex/Mark that like you just almost relax a little bit. Like, oh, someone isn't wooden. Holy shit, this is great.
Yeah, Randy Travis is pretty compelling and like definitely adds like a spark because everybody in the movie so far, with maybe the exception of Eric Roberts, but I'm kind of not counting him because he's barely in the movie, is very much the same. Like they're very sort of basic tough guy kind of,
square guys with short brown hair.
Yes, and when you have this weird lanky Randy Travis show up with this sonorous voice of his and this little twang he's got, and you're like, oh, this guy's interesting. I want to watch this guy. And then later when he does his gun tricks, you're like, this guy's great. Like, give me a movie where Randy Travis just plays a small town sheriff and has to defend the town. I would watch that.
I mean, like the second he's in the second part of this second chapter of this movie, I'm like, man, you guys got Randy Travis. His career's a bit down, not as far as it's gonna go, but like, like here's this guy who was a like 1987 through like 1993, whatever, like just literally one of music's biggest stars on the fucking planet. Like, he's not that far removed from it. He's good at what he's doing here. I'm like, he's so much better on screen than the main character. And it's so painful. But he spends the entire time, like, his role to say, you should marry that girl, about this girl who we know nothing about. And we never learned really anything about. And we kind of get the idea that Alex is afraid to propose to her because he doesn't believe, he thinks in his head, I'm a bad guy because I've done bad things, which he is. And like, I thought, because he's not dropping this information and not releasing this stuff against the bad guys unless they come bug him, that like, okay, well, he'll eventually, he'll propose to her, but he'll finally tell her who he really is. And she'll tell him to release the tapes. And that kind of starts the whole thing. No, not really. Like, he never has his crisis of conscience. If they don't come and try to kill him and shoot fucking Randy Travis in the gut off camera, he never does anything. He never tries to fix anything. He never has that crisis of conscience. Yeah. That he values his life more than the lives of the people that this team is going to take in the future.
So I have an idea of how to make this a little more streamlined, but I will save it until we get closer to the end. And I think this could be a more interesting kind of thing. It's very similar to what we already get, but I have an idea on this, but I'll save it till we get closer to the end of the movie. So he's now known as Mark in this town. Everybody likes him. Neighborhood
Ladies
kids talk to him.
Mark.
Like, like these kids come up to him on the street, and they're talking about how they're starting to work out and everything. Like they want to be, strong like him. He I guess, I don't know what he does for work other than runs a fitness class.
Which really isn't that low profile considering he's afraid of being found, and all he's done is change his name from Alex to Mark.
Yeah, he looks identical. He's not like he has a beard now or different hair or anything. He just looks exactly the same. And I mean, it's not like his accent is any different or he's done anything to make himself, harder to locate. But
I mean, he's clearly made a fake background check, because a small town sheriff here, Sheriff Jim, runs a background check on every single person who moves into town, which, by the way, is fucking bullshit. He has no right. Who the fuck is he?
Yeah, that's like, fucking illegal.
They work for us. Go suck my cock.
So he runs this fitness class for women, I think, because there's no men in the class. And I think the joke is that the women take his class because of what he looks like.
No, like everyone in this fucking movie is horny for Mark.
Well,
like that is the joke from this point on, is that like all the girls are into him in the class. His best friend's daughter's into him. His wife's into him. Like everyone's into him. And like there's 2 long scenes of him just sweating in shorts.
So he has this
they zoom in on his crotch for quite some time.
So he's in this class and he is doing some insane like jump rope crossovers. Like the way that he looks, he is so intense and he is just so committed to this jump rope. And I just could not stop laughing at some of the insane crossovers that he's doing. Like the way that he is flipping that rope back and forth. I was like, he's going to hit someone and take their eye out.
Considering everyone else there looks like they should be there for jazzercise.
But yeah, he is doing it hardcore. And after the class is over, a woman comes up to him, and Barbara, who our sheriff's daughter will call Boobra later because the woman's a little chesty. And she asks him if he'd like to potentially go on a date sometime. And he's like, no, I'm in a relationship.
She does first say, and I quote, "I like sweating with you."
Oh my God, that's right.
And he says in response, "Sweating is good for us all."
I agree with him. Sweating is good for us all.
she wants to fuck him.
Oh yes, it cleans out the toxins, but yes, she definitely wants to get all of his baguette.
And here's the thing: this is when the sheriff's daughter, whose name maybe I'll come across some from my notes, but who cares? Not IMDb doesn't care. But she comes up and she's pissed off at Boobra for hitting on him. I'm like, wait a second, this looks similar to his girlfriend, but I'm pretty sure this is much younger.
Mm-hmm.
Is it her sister that he's mad? Who's mad that someone else is hitting on her sister's boyfriend?
I thought that might have been what it was.
Who is that? And then we find out that she's setting up a surprise birthday party for the sheriff. And I kind of everyone kind of talks slow. I'm like, is the sheriff's much younger girlfriend upset that he's dating someone is hitting on her because she's friends with his girlfriend? What is going on? And then it finally occurred to me, even though everyone's been horny for him this entire time, and they just literally put the camera over his dick while he does crossovers for at least 5 seconds. I finally occurred to me, oh, it's just that everyone's horny for him, including this young girl.
Yeah, they don't ever go into any explanation as to what happened to the mother, like the sheriff's wife. They never mention that. I guess maybe either she passed away or
they have their own Disney movie that we didn't see.
That's right. One thing that really kind of bumped me a little bit was when he goes up to her, the sheriff's daughter, and first actually he says to Barbara that he's in a relationship, and she's like, well, that doesn't matter to some people, and he's like, it matters to me, and then she's like, oh, you're a good guy. And then so I guess even if he had been in a relationship but was down to clown, she would have still been into it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, she likes sweating with him.
That's
true. Did you see how hard his body is?
He does have a great body, I will say. And for most of this movie, it looks like he's bronzed up, ready to go on stage for a competition.
She wants to do some crossovers with him.
That's true. But the thing that bumped me was when then he goes up to the daughter afterwards, and she's like, Boobra, such a slut. And I was like, what the fuck? Don't have this girl disparage this woman. What are we doing?
It's so weird.
The fact that the woman just said, hey, you're an attractive guy. I like working out with you. Are you free? You want to go on a date? That does not make this woman slutty.
And also, she's also after someone. She is literally in the exact same situation that Barbara's in.
Yeah, I think it's born out of jealousy, but it's still weird to see this teen girl use the slur against another woman.
How old is she supposed to be? Because
high school, man.
Is it because I'm younger?
It's got to be high school.
Maybe
it's got to be.
It has to be. He wouldn't have a full grown Randy Travis wouldn't have a full grown daughter. I mean, he's a dad against daughters dating. That kind of ends after a certain age, right?
No, once you're in for life, my friend. So you have that to look forward to. Sorry.
So she's setting up a birthday party.
I'm going to get you one of those shirts for Father's Day.
You fucking dare. She's setting up a surprise birthday party for Sheriff Jim, her dad, I guess. And it's a surprise that's going to involve his other two friends, which are Mark and his girlfriend, who she appears to like, but also wants to steal the man from. Just like Barbara.
There are other people at this birthday party, right?
Are there? They act like they're setting up this big party to surprise him, but maybe they all leave at the start of the when they go to the scene of the big table. Are the rest of the people have just left, and it's just left our core
This
friends?
is just no. It's because this restaurant this is a thing that's dead in COVID times, but they just have community seating, so it's just a bunch of random people at a table.
He's like, oh, I knew she was gonna have this party because I look into everything. I know everything about everything in town. He doesn't know his best friend shot a child in the face with a rocket launcher, but he knows everything else. But what's a surprise party of 4 people, of which his family is 2?
Yeah.
Who's going to say, like, they must have dinner together most nights anyways.
Probably. There's a thing that happens a little earlier, which we kind of skipped over, but when Sheriff Jim is out, he finds a car parked in the crosswalk, and this guy comes up, this sort of drunk guy, and he seems kind of out of it, and Sheriff
Jim,
he's
a cartoon, by the way.
Yes, he's very much a drunk guy, like out of a cartoon, who would look at a bottle if he saw something weird drive by on the street and throw it into the gutter, like, I'm never drinking again. But he's parked his car in the crosswalk, and we see him pop up again a little bit later, where he sees the kids from earlier and shows them a picture of Mark and says, "Do you know this guy?" And they say they don't know him. And I was like, I kept waiting for something to come back with that. Like, eventually he just sees him at the bar, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I did it. But it's weird because we don't really get a whole lot of backstory into who that guy is. Like, he's clearly a private eye, but he's also a drunk fuck up, because when he calls Russo to tell him that he found him, Russo's like, oh, is this what, the 5th or 6th time that you've supposedly found him? So he's just like messed up constantly over the last year trying to find Alex.
Why would Russo, who has all,
I don't know,
can afford the best of the best former Kuwaiti War gunmen, he can't get a guy who's not drunk?
It's so bizarre. Like, I was wondering when that guy showed up, I was like, oh, is that a former team member? Like, because like maybe he's just down on his luck or something. Since Alex left the team, things broke really bad, and now he's a drunk. But like, no, it's just some random PI that they hired instead of sending their elite force around America. Like, they could send a guy out for 2 weeks to crisscross and try to find out where he might be, and then because he would do it more proficiently.
I mean, once they got to this town, there's nobody here. Like, he was eventually going to run into him. He's this big French guy.
Yeah.
It's like he went to a town, like, eventually, if Andre the Giant lives here, I'm going to run into Andre the fucking Giant. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I do like at the surprise birthday party at this restaurant, he is in full action 90s action hero mode as he's leaned back and he's got a big old stogie. I'm like,
yeah.
So you're super into fitness. But you got to have that stogie, because every action star had to have their fucking stogie in 1997.
Yeah, smoking inside.
Smoking inside. He's got, what, 2 more years of that to go, and then you're never going to see it again, buddy.
There is a shot earlier when the sheriff reveals that he knows all about this surprise birthday party, and he keeps asking why he can't, marry his new girlfriend, Jamie. And he's like, I can't do it until I really, tell her who I really am. And the sheriff's like, well, what did you do? And we get more flashbacks of that mother and kid getting blown up by the rocket launcher.
It is absolutely his Darkman moment.
Yeah. Oh, yes, you're right. But yeah, they have the birthday party. Everything's great. The sheriff's daughter cuts in on Mark and Jamie dancing, and she's like, I know that you think I'm too young for you. It's like, what are we doing?
I mean, at least it's 1997 and she's wearing like giant jeans up to her belly button. So she's like, they're not making this little kid like walk around in like a cocktail dress trying to seduce him. But because it is uncomfortable every time it happens.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. But like, so Jamie has gone over to get a drink at the bar, and she gets accosted by these drunk guys. And it's weird because this place feels like an Applebee's or like a TGI Fridays. It doesn't feel like a place where these 3 drunks would hang out and get drunk all night.
You wouldn't have room for a fight in one of these places.
Well, they do have a dance floor, so that does help.
That is true. And they do dance. The sheriff takes his time to go to the bathroom so he doesn't have to see it happen. And then he suggests later that weird, so often he goes to the bathroom and then comes back out and people are laid out by his best friend.
Yeah.
So he must be fighting, like he must have, like considering the size of this town, he must have fought half the town by now.
That's how they keep the peace. Like, it's either the sheriff giving you a ticket for parking in a crosswalk or this guy Mark beating the shit out of you.
It's such an odd thing to have him just have him arrest those dudes. Like, they're trying to fight.
So, like, they sort of are accosting her and grabbing her and like pulling her into their laps and stuff, which is also just an incredibly fucked up thing to be doing. But like, I was also blown away because one of the guys in this group, these three guys, is Kane Hodder, who's played Jason Voorhees in quite a few Friday the 13th movies. It was very weird to see him. I recognized him because of his weird neck. He has got the strangest neck you've ever seen, and I don't know what has caused that. There's probably something. Maybe he was burned or just a weird skin condition. I don't know, but I always, if I'm not sure, I look at his neck and and I know for sure it's Kane Hodder. Also, he has a terrible beard.
Yeah, I mean, slumming into T.N.T, right?
Yeah,
from Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah, but like, so they kind of try to accost him a little bit, and he, the sheriff steps in and basically stops anything from happening. And then, like you said, the sheriff goes to the bathroom, and when he's gone, they do it again. They try to mess with him again, and then he proceeds to just beat the living shit out of them,
which is satisfying, but not satisfying enough.
No,
like it's shot in a way that like you want, if you're gonna do something in a restaurant, a lot of like prop work, right? Running people through things, toss them through things, smashing them with things. It really isn't that. He's just kind of punching them.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably the best action sequence in the movie just because it's
wood
like
stuff. The stuff at the end is not exciting at all.
No, yeah, it's just because there's something going on and it's kind of an interesting location. It's not just them outside, because our first big action sequence of the movie is them out in the woods, and the last big action sequence is them out in the woods, and then you've got this one in the middle, which is something. Like it's at least a little bit different. But yeah, now that I think about it, there's really only like there's only three big action sequences in this movie, which is kind of baffling.
It's kind of baffling. But like I said, by 1987, they were just not putting any money in these movies anymore. They realized how much you could put in versus what you're going to get out at Blockbuster. Like, they're not, I mean, like, no more than like 2 or 3 years earlier, like fucking if Don the Dragon Wilson wanted you to rent a helicopter and for him to fight the helicopter on top of a roof, it happened. But that also was like a sequel of a sequel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Okay, so that's actually a good point. You brought him up a couple times, but would this be better if it were a Don the Dragon Wilson movie?
Yes.
Yes, because he's more engaging on screen, for one. And I think that there would be more interesting stuff. Like, I think that no, this is no shade on Olivier Gruner or Gruner, however you say his name. Sorry.
If you guys know and you're really upset about it, I really apologize. I don't want to be like, hey, we didn't do our research. We didn't pull up a YouTube video where he's being interviewed and someone says his name.
Sure.
But I was also afraid that the person interviewing him would also be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, and if you do know, please feel free to correct us. So, because we'll cover another movie of his at some point in the future. I'm sure we will. He's done a lot.
Point us at his best work.
Yeah. Actually, that would be great. Tell us the best thing that he's been in, and we'll maybe give that a watch. But I would say that it's no shade against him. I just think that he's just sort of he's a good-looking guy who is very like in shape and athletic, but like Don the Dragon Wilson is like an actual martial artist, so he can do things. And I mean, I don't know this guy's
he
background.
Might have some karate stuff, but like nothing comes off as dynamic. It doesn't. There's not a translation to this. Like,
oh, I'm sorry. He actually is a French kickboxing champion. So.
But look at him versus like something that Cynthia Rothrock can't say it now because I'm over. Like, just there's numerous people you can watch in one of these kind of movies that just come off as more dynamic. And I think a lot of it is the movie. I think if he was given better set pieces, or if he was a second in the movie, like he was a sidekick, or like he had a really charismatic or like larger than life bad guy he's fighting. Instead, he's fighting himself, except for more boring.
Well, I think that's a big problem too. I think if this guy is like it says that he's a kickboxing champion, then why is he not? Why did they saddle him with this like dumb movie where he's using lots of guns?
Yeah, put him or knife fighting. Put him.
That's
in a
why.
movie
That's why the fight in the bar is the best one, because he's actually getting to do the shit that he knows how to do.
Yes, I mean, sure, you can make a movie called Mortal Kombat. Or you can make sure the Mortal Kombat tournament's not in it. But like in this case, you have this kickboxer. Make him kickbox.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Why I liked the bar fight.
Find some boxes, have him kick them.
So the next day, he gets a bunch of random hang-up calls, and so he tries to call Jamie, thinking it was her, and it turns out his phone is tapped. And we cut to Russo and Miles, who I don't know. Like I guess they know that it's him because the drunk guy saw the fight in the bar and he calls Russo and tells him. So then they call him, tap his phone, and they use the phone call that he has with Jamie plus a conversation that they recorded in this room over a year ago to match his vocal patterns, even though they're completely different conversations and words. The thing they show on screen is a perfect match.
I did not know why they had to do this.
I don't know either. They could just say, yeah, it sounds just like him. We should check it out.
Here's this guy who sound like they're already saying this drunk guy to whatever town just to show a picture to kids. Like, just send some more dudes. Like, how much time? The chances of this guy being a giant, ripped French military guy who can do kickboxing and it's not Alex in Colorado, pretty low. Just fucking try it.
Yeah, like I don't understand why they're like that sure sounds like him and we've got a visual confirmation. Let's put the team together. That's all you need. Like you don't need to use the waveforms of his vocal cords for different conversations to go, this is it.
Like you have a conversation where he's like, oh, hi, Russo.
I did not kill that woman and her child.
I did not. This is what he sounds like.
Yeah. There is a great line earlier when they're at the birthday party and she asks him to go dance and he turns to the Sheriff Jim and he was like, save me a big piece of cake. So
that's gonna be our sign off thing for now.
So he and Jamie are kind of talking about his past and everything, and he's like, I was nothing before I met you. And
boo, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, that's like a red flag to her. She's like, well, I think we should pump the brakes in our relationship. We see him do some early morning Tai Chi. He's shirtless on a mountaintop. Pretty great. And this is where the problem happens, because we're kind of moving very quickly towards the end of the movie here, because the team has arrived in Colorado. They're already starting to go out and set up various traps in the woods. They're wearing camo to blend into this small town. And Val, his friend earlier, he's the only one that expresses any sort of concern to Miles about what they're doing. But he plants a Twizzler at one of the tripwires, because that's his calling card, I guess, is constantly eating Twizzlers. So
mine too. I'm Val.
So he knows that Alex will see it and know that they're there. But it's also a very remote spot in the woods, so why would Alex see it?
It's dumb. Like this, like the whole set. There's a point here where Miles does his whole speech about, we'll come in one way, but he'll be expecting that. So we'll come in a second way, but he'll also be expecting that. But it's the third way that he won't expect or expecting. It's the third heat or whatever he's gonna say. But like, here's this third way that he won't be expecting. They kidnap his girlfriend, which is clearly what they were going to do.
Yeah, I thought more would happen with Sheriff Jim's daughter, but she just is not in the movie anymore.
She's too busy like setting up a little shrine to Mark.
So we do get a great scene here where Jim takes Mark shooting, and he gives him. He does the very disgusting things that I think a lot of maniac gun owners do, which is talking about how you have to get used to the gun like you get used to a woman you have relations with. So fuck this gun.
That's how you make a baseball get less stiff. You got to fuck it every night. Let all the creams and oils get into the leather.
Yeah, it's very just gun nutty. But we do see Sheriff Jim display his prowess by popping his gun from the holster and shooting from the hip and taking out all these cans.
Boy, that would really been cool if he did against the bad guys, except for he gets shot in the stomach off screen.
It would be great if he got to like hold his own, which would have been fun. And he gives Mark a gun, and Mark kind of fakes not being able to shoot very well. And then he gives him another smaller gun, and he has a flashback to killing that woman and her child again, and is able to take out all the cans.
Man, he's going to be so mad when he gets a hold of Durant.
That's my secret, Cap. I'm always thinking about that woman that killed I blew up.
Otherwise, he's super happy all the time.
Yeah. It's
1 year later. He created this entire life where he's best friends with the sheriff. Every woman in town wants to fuck him, and he's already been dating a girl so long that no one understands why they're not married. In 1 year.
Yeah, it should have been a little longer, like maybe like 3 years or something.
Like they're like, when are you gonna marry this girl? I'm like, well, I mean, he had to travel to Colorado, so it's at least been no less than 11 months. Like,
yeah,
and more. But like,
I mean, maybe this is how it worked. So maybe Alex, he decided, I'm going to go to Colorado. I'm going to live in this small town out in the wilderness. I'm going to enjoy it. I'll get there and we'll see where things go. So he goes there. He's on his way there. He's, been thinking of a fake identity. Mark. He settles on Mark. I don't know why, but he does. And he comes up with all kinds of, I guess, he'd had to take the time to come up with the identity, to input that fake information into some sort of database so that if anyone did any sort of background check on him, they would be able to, not come across anything bad. He'd have to have a fake license, all this other fake documentation. So he had to spend time getting all that together. Maybe that took like a week or so to put it all together and get ready. And then he, travels to Colorado. He gets there on the first day. And when he's on Main Street, he parks his car a little bit over the line. And Sheriff Jim comes up and goes, oh, wait a minute now. The elderly, they don't like it when you park in the crosswalk there. You need to move your vehicle. And he's very nice and apologetic about it. They strike up a conversation. They start talking about their lives. They become fast friends. He notices in the window of the gym that they need a fitness instructor. So he goes over there and he applies for that job. And he just so happens to bump into Jamie as she's walking out of the gym, and they cut eyes at each other. And then the next week when he's teaching a class, Jamie's in the class and they start talking and they hit it off, and then they go for coffee and they, get into a relationship. He could do all this shit in like 2 weeks.
See, here's what I would rather happen, because
I want to see that movie.
It'd be very good. This is the first time we mentioned his girlfriend's name is Jamie. That's how much
I said it earlier.
Did you really? Like,
yeah.
It's not like they do so little with her. Like, she's not a character.
But speaking of his accent and everything, every time he said Jamie, I just kept thinking of Arnold in Jingle All the Way saying Jamie.
So what I wanted to happen was they finally get there and they have her tied to a chair as leverage over him. And he goes, ha, 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 she's just a robot I made. And her head falls off and it's a robot. Like, he's been setting up this entire town as like a fake situation the entire time. Like, he made a girlfriend that they would kidnap and think they have, we have the upper hand, but no, it's not a person at all.
Yeah, they call him. They're like, we've got your girlfriend. He's like, oh, do you? Open her chest plate. And then they open it and it's just shoved full of TNT.
And then
surprise, motherfuckers.
And that's why the name works on so many levels.
Yeah. So Jamie leaves class. I think she's a teacher, maybe.
Sure.
And she's followed by two of the guys, Miles and another one of the guys. She's able to shake them in a very low speed chase where they stop at all the stop signs. And she gets home. She makes a call to Mark. He has one of those awful answering machine messages where he goes, "Hello? No, I'm just kidding. This is a machine."
Like, for a guy who's under incredible trauma and was working on the underbelly of society with this black ops operation that even he didn't know what it was about for fucking like 5 years after being in the military for 5 years, he's super playful, isn't he?
She tries to call the sheriff's office, but she gets cut off because the bad guys are there. They pull her phone line, and they call the sheriff who's driving around, and he says he'll go check it out. And all of this stuff happens in pretty rapid succession here. So we cut back to the gym where we see Barbara having found a guy who looks very much like Mark, but a little, like I said earlier, a little dumpier. And they see a vehicle, and everybody's crowded around this vehicle. And Mark pulls up, goes up to the vehicle, and finds Val inside dead. And so he knows immediately, oh no, they found me. It's going to happen. And then we kind of get like rapid fire towards the end. And this is where I want to explain what I think could be a better way to do this. And it would, I think, be maybe more entertaining in a way. So what if we have at the beginning, we have actually Alex turning these guys in, like actually turning in the T.N.T. team, giving some testimony, and then they go to jail. And so then he goes into like a witness protection type thing because, he changes his identity. He goes into hiding and makes this new life. And so obviously we would elongate the time period. It's, a couple years now, not 1 year. And then we get either Russo or Miles or someone getting out of prison. Either they escape or they get released through some weird technicality. And of course, they've got revenge on their mind. So they maybe Miles turned over on all of his guys, and so they got longer sentences, and he was able to get a commuted sentence or whatever. You could come up with some bullshit reason that he gets out of jail early.
Yeah, it does. The rest of the people are so nothing. It doesn't matter if they're the same people.
Exactly. So he gets out and he's looking for Alex, trying to find him. And we have Alex kind of living his new fake life in this new town. And they find out where he is. Somehow someone notices him, or something happens where he does something that gets picked up by the news, because that's how it always happens.
Yeah, like Air Bud.
Yes, like Air Bud, or I was thinking of like History of Violence or something like that, where they see a news report or see something in the paper.
The two different movies that exist.
Yes. And they like, okay, well, there he is. We know where he is. So they go, and then you also still have the fight in the bar. And when Miles or Russo, whoever gets there, they kind of recruit these other drunk guys, these guys, to be their sort of mercenary team because they don't have anybody else. And so they just find a bunch of random dudes in the town, and then that brings that back full circle, and he gets to kill all of them at once.
Yeah, and he gets to kill people who are bad at things, so he looks really cool doing it.
Yeah. Like
I do love like that is better. It makes more sense than him just creating an entire new life that seems 15 years old in 1 year.
Yes, but it also gives him like, oh, he did a good thing. Like he realized he was doing something bad, so he turned over on all these guys and got them put in jail, and then went off to, he's still a bad guy because he did commit all these murders, but like he realized that he'd gone too far, and now he's in witness protection and like trying to redeem himself, basically.
I do like that when he knows, he finds Val, the dead body. The sheriff has been shot in the stomach. He's ready. He now knows, it is the end game, and he goes and he literally digs up his past.
Yeah. Like I did do a quick Google search. I was like, what other movies is this in? Because I know it specifically from MacGruber when he does it. But that is obviously a takeoff of these movies. So I was like, what else has done this? Because there has to be other things. Like I know John Wick has done it, but that came a little later, obviously.
John Wick clearly inspired by T.N.T, a movie that IMDb could not be bothered to put all the names of the main characters on.
But like, what other movies? Because I couldn't, because I was trying to search like action movies where hero literally digs up his past life, and I couldn't find anything. So if you know other movies where this happens, please let me know, because I'm dying to see how other movies do this.
It's so fucking literal. It's amazing. They have this big sun shot they use like 25 times in this movie, and they use it again here.
Yeah. One thing we have to talk about though is when he goes to Jamie's house and he finds the sheriff is shot, but he's alive, and he tries to get this line out, and it's just very bad. It's listen, if you die on me, I'm never going to speak to you again.
And then I won't have the big piece of cake.
And then the sheriff just sort of goes to sleep, and I was like, well, I guess he's dead, because I don't think you're supposed to let him go to sleep.
So we have that, and then we have, in the most completely, utterly unnecessary part of the movie, we have the guys who has Jamie tied up trying to seduce her.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's gross. It's totally not needed, and never really like
she doesn't it's matter. Weird because she does the dead calm thing of like going along with it kind of and you think it's to get out, so he'll like let her out of the bindings and stuff. It doesn't go anywhere.
No.
It was so weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's bizarre. So they've kidnapped her and everything. So he goes into the woods and does all his thing. He wedges a grenade between a rock for some reason that somehow works out for him. I don't know how he knew that was going to work.
I'm still trying to figure out how the whole jumping on the van thing worked. So nothing else makes sense to me in this movie.
There's all kinds of other stuff, like, you know, he trips the sensor and one of the other guys goes down and he blows up from that grenade. Jamie tries to convince the guy that he can get his humanity back, and he's not really interested. And there's a fight that he has with one of the guys, Choi. I do know his name because they say it a couple times. And Alex gets stabbed and they fight. It's really badly edited because there's a point where one of them is on the ground and then he's up again in the next shot, like running with a knife. So it just is terribly edited. And this is a weird thing here where like he finally gets the better hand on Choi in their fight, and the guy goes and is begging for his life, and he's like, "No, please don't kill me." And Alex doesn't have like a change of heart, doesn't change. He's like, "Nope," and just cuts this guy's throat.
He's not a good guy.
It's kind of like, it's like counterproductive. It feels like he would be like, you know, he would just like punch him in the face and knock him out, you know, and like tie him up or something, so he couldn't come after him again. Like he's turned over a new leaf and he's going to be, you know, the better man. But it's like, no, all I know is killing.
He's dug up his past. He is his past again. He's now Alan. He's no longer Mark.
Wait, Alex.
I don't know which order it's in.
His name is Alex. He's pretending to be Mark.
So now he's Alan again. He's no longer
Alan. Alan and Marn.
It is so unimportant that he changes his name.
He makes it down to this farmhouse where they're keeping Jamie, and he sees Jamie being kissed by the guy. And for a second, I was like, it would be very funny if he was like, he feigned jealousy.
It'd be so like, at this point where like this, I didn't know like what this movie is capable of. Like, I wondered if like they're gonna go full like full irredeemable guy and go like, oh, she kissed him, I'm gonna blow them all up.
Yeah, but he throws in,
because his other girls are still Barbara and daughter. I don't know her name.
Sheriff's
I
daughter.
probably didn't write it down. Jamie Jr.
Yeah, no,
she'll grow up strong and powerful.
Jamie is not related to her.
They look the same except for she's much younger.
He throws in the smoke grenade and then kind of like a flashbang thing. He jumps through the window, and that's actually kind of cool looking, the way he flies through the window, and he covers Jamie from the blast of the flashbang. And they sort of knock out the guy, and they narrowly escape from the cabin before Miles blows it up. There's another guy that shows up. He gets killed pretty much immediately. And Mark and Jamie try to escape here in this van, but Miles runs off and jumps on top of it as they're...
I don't understand this. So they get in the van. He's on the ground. They knocked him down. They get in the van. They start driving away. He gets up. He is on the ground when they start to drive away. He gets up and he runs towards the car, which is now has a car running start on them. And he jumps on the roof. Did they go around in a circle and they'll go under a bridge that he was on top of and then he could jump down on? Just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
How did he jump on top of this van? I don't understand.
It doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't matter. He shoots into the van and they stop and Miles falls off the top and they have some nice hand-to-hand combat in the middle of the road. And we've got
this fucking semi
our
of
18
justice.
wheels of justice flying down the road towards them.
No, you flying down the road is really overselling this. We see this van come for 10 minutes straight.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't know it was coming, like they show it literally at the top of a fucking mountain, and we have to see it cut to it again every time it goes down a loop. It takes forever. It's like 50 miles away at the start of this.
It is. They're fighting in the road, and Miles is trying to stab Mark, and Jamie's like screaming for the truck driver to stop. It's very funny. And
there's no way he could hear him. But it does lead to the funniest moment in the whole movie's coming.
Yes, the Mark is on the ground. Miles is trying to stab him, and as the truck gets close, what does she say? She says something like, "Now, Mark, now!" And he basically just pushes Miles with his feet up into the front of the truck, and he's hit and falls on the ground. And I guess he's dead. I was fully expecting him to jump back up.
I mean, he got hit by a semi-truck at full speed.
Yeah, but this is an action movie. The guy's not going to just go down that quickly.
Oh my God. And then so I'm like, boy, that's a hard one to put on. Like, in my head, I'm like, boy, he just fucked up that guy's life. The guy who drove the truck. And sure enough, the movie has him come out of his truck, look at what has happened, and he goes, shit.
And calls 911.
There is so much explaining that Mark, Alan, Alex would have to do to everyone.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that would come up. Like, it would be a big deal. Like, yeah,
his girlfriend and his best friend should be so much more angry at him. Like, literally, Sarah Jam may never walk again. He's in a wheelchair. He got shot through the stomach, which is a terrible way to die. She was kidnapped and almost killed by his past, which he did not tell her about.
Yeah,
and they're totally fucking okay with it. Did not bother them. Like,
yeah, what? At the end here,
he can still be the good guy in the movie, but she has to break up with him.
No, not possible. So
she absolutely has to break up with him. That's how
he saved her life with his killing.
He put her at risk. She didn't have to have her life saved. It wasn't for him.
No, this means that he really loves her.
No, she has to break up with him. I hate these endings. She has to break up with him.
They leave the house where Sheriff
She's a
Jim
grown adult. She doesn't need this shit.
He's convalescing in his wheelchair, and we do see that Russo has been arrested. We see Eric Roberts on television getting carted out by a bunch of cops, and it's like, yeah, they just filmed this at the end of the day. And he walks out and he makes a joke to Jamie about asking Sheriff Jim to be his best man. And she's like, wait, what? And they have this coy conversation about, oh, I met a really great girl and I think that she's the one for me. And she's like, well, I hope she accepts. And then he proposes. And while Sheriff Jim and his daughter watch from the porch, and the end, that's the movie. Like, it just ends right there as they walk off.
She should break up with him. She should say no. What does she even call him? Mark? Alan? Alex?
She calls him, let's see, Marks.
Daddy? Marks. I wonder what else, like what Eric Roberts was like filming at the same time that he might be wearing the same outfits for during this movie, like Most Wanted, The Shadow Man.
I mean, he's filming. I think he's
Cold Blood.
How many
Past
movies
Perfect.
is he even filming at that point? Like multiple films that came out in '97, right?
Not a lot in '97. Not just T.N.T, Most Wanted, The Shadow Man. He was in an episode of Oz, episode of Frasier, episode of The Odyssey. Like in '96, he's in every movie.
So maybe he was filming some stuff at the same time. But '96, Power 98, baby.
He's significantly different in this movie than he is in that movie.
Very much so.
Like physically, it's bizarre.
Yeah, it's strange. But that is T.N.T. Not quite the explosive entertainment I was hoping for our first film back in season 5. But
welcome to the reality of predictocast, which has always been like this.
Exactly. I mean, we really do roll the dice when it comes to these movies. We never know what we're going to get. We always hope that it's good. And while it was fun to talk about this one, I don't think it's a movie that I could really recommend anyone watch.
No, but we are going to watch The Shadow Men at some point.
The only thing I would say, the only recommendation I would give you for this movie is definitely watch. I think that the bar fight scene is decent. So if you're just interested in seeing anything from this movie, it's on Amazon Prime. You could like scroll around to the middle until you find them fighting in a bar. And I would also say watch the scene where he is jumping rope, because that is a very fun scene.
I mean, he basically invented CrossFit right there. Cross-up fit.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Our first back in season 5. Skinner, how does it feel to be back in the predictocast chair?
Oh, it feels like a big piece of cake. Nothing's changed. It's another movie where we hoped it would be exciting and it wasn't. So season 5, welcome to every other season. Maybe it goes up from here. It has to.
Let's hope so. I mean, who knows what we're doing next time on the show, but if you want to know, you'll have to join us for our mini episode where we'll reveal the next film and make our predictions based on the title and any other random ephemera we can find, posters, taglines, etc. Until then, though, I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner.
And
have I been Mark?
Oh my God,
Alex.
There's no way to know for sure. You look exactly the same, but I have no idea.
Exactly. Well, take this recording you've got from me, compare it to other episodes we have, and we'll see, including Butterfly Kisses, a podcast that breaks down Crazy Town's hit song, number 1 song, Butterfly, line by line.
Yeah, that one.
New season, gotta plug the old shit.
That's right. Until next time, though, we predict you'll join us. If you like the show, subscribe, rate, and review us over at Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter and Instagram at predictocast, and you can find our entire back catalog at predictocast.com. Our theme music is by Kyle Sledge. Find more of his work at soundcloud.com/geistmusic. To get monthly bonus content, sign up at patreon.com/predictocast. As always, thanks for listening.